What's going on, Jeromes? So we're doing another Q&A video, and we're going to try and go fast and get as many questions in as possible. Thank you very much for sending them in. So if you're looking for the place to submit questions, we put it out on the community tab. Got some Q&As, so there you go. Starting up at the top. Virtue Kendama. Nailed it. Giving your honest opinion at this exact moment, would you rather us extend Kirk Cousins, splitting his salary around $27-30 million per year for another 3 or 4 seasons, or roll with a new QB, whether it's Kellen Mond from this draft or even from a trade? So, I don't think Kirk would be down for that extension. He may not get 40 because of his age and because, Kirk Cousins, but I don't think that he would settle for a extension that size. So that's a bit of a misnomer there. But even given the cost, my preferred course of action right now would be to roll with Kirk Cousins for a year. You can spread out his cap hit by adding a void year, maybe 2, and Rob Brzezinski can work his magic, right? And you can have a full assessment if Kirk Cousins is going to be your guy for the next 3 to 4 years. And Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, they can get a good look. It's like, hey, do we want to hitch our wagon to Kirk? And then you develop Kellen Mond. I think that Wes Phillips. I think that Shea. I think that Jared Johnson. I think that Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, forgot the head coach's name. I think that they will work wonders with Kellen Mond. And hell, if the right quarterback falls to you in the draft, especially day 2, take him. You go ahead and take him. So that's not the exact answer that you're looking for, but that's what I would do as of right now. Dark Orb. Do you think the Vikings finally will get deep into the playoffs this year? Also, what do you think about the defense going from one of the best, if not the best, to mediocre? Going from one of the best. Well, it fell apart so fast with Zimmer's defense, and part of it is injuries. I mean, Danielle Hunter playing, 7 games in 2 years? That certainly was part of it, and also age was a factor, and I think that offenses caught up with what Mike Zimmer and company were doing, because remember, 2014, 15, 16, 17, the double A-gap mug look was all the rage, and then a lot of teams started adopting on third down, and then teams started seeing it more and more, and it's like why teams struggle against college teams that run the triple option. So the service academies, Georgia Tech used to run a lot of triple option because you don't see it. Georgia Southern, because you don't see it a ton. But if you played a triple option team every week, like in high school in some places, then you get pretty damn good at it. And I think eventually offenses did catch up to Mike Zimmer. I don't think that he necessarily adjusted the best. And all of that factored into the defense going injury, Rona, age, failure to adjust and adapt. I think that all factored in. But I mean, there's still a lot of talent in that defense, man. I think that Donatel and Pettin and company, I think they can get something going. Will Vikings make a deep playoffs this year? I always believe, and I may have put some more jelly beans down on the Vikings to win the Super Bowl. The odds have shifted, by the way, pretty precipitously. Joseph Chavarella, do you think we'll see more players come out to speak on the culture change later in the offseason? And if so, will it be a dramatic spike in positive comments than before in the Zimmer era football? I think we've seen the extent of venting. The whole, Kendrick's talking about fear-based culture. Brian O'Neill, no one's saying hi to me in the hallway. I think that'll be the extent of it, because I think the players, even if they have a major axe to grind against Zimmer and to a degree Spielman, I don't think they're just going to come out and just throw people under the bus. Now, Bashaud Breeland, I want to get him, Bashaud Breeland needs to go on a Twitter rant or just get in an interview, because I think that he would have some things to say. But I think that it will be one of those doth protest too much situations where they're talking about, this is great. I mean, we're out here competing. We're having a good time. We're loving our coaches. We're loving our teammates, and everything is great in this building. It's sort of, hey, damning the former by heavily praising the current. Yeah. Tony Chesser, thank you for all your great work. Thank you. I look forward to watching your videos every single day. Thank you. What do you think about ISM as the future number 2 to JJ? He proved that he can stretch the field this year, and in my opinion, has mad potential and the physical tools to be a star in this league. I don't know about star, but he certainly could have his role to play in the Vikings passing game. Now, you have to take his college production with a grain of salt, because it's Iowa, and Kurt Ferentz is never going to open up that offense, ever. ever, right? But I mean, ISM did show when he was on the field later on in the season that he can get over the top of the defense. He does have game-breaking speed, so I think that can be an extra spice into this gumbo, this stew that we're putting together, man. So, but number two, that's not so much a slight on ISM. I think that's just more faith in guys like KJ Osborne, guys like rookie wide receivers TBD, as Thielen starts to age out a little bit. But yeah, ISM certainly can have an impact on offense. I think that if he develops as a punt returner, I think that he would be dangerous too. Kick returner's already spoken for. Until King Kene becomes a starting running back, and then maybe ISM can return kicks. Joel Lopez. Yeah, I said we'd move this thing along, and it's taken 5.5 minutes on 4 questions. Joel Lopez, I've been a Vikings fan for about 15 years now since I started watching football. My question is, what the hell did Minnesota Vikings do to the world that always receives so much hate? Skull from Rhode Island. Rhode Island. Quahog. There you go. I don't know. I think that the media always goes for low-hanging fruit, and it's always easier and you get better ratings if you're punching down on someone, or if you're hating on someone. Like, all the praise, all of this stuff, it's whatever. Like, how many stories can you do about Tom Brady being good? That's why they suck their fangs into Deflategate so much. That's why they like ripping on LeBron after they kiss his ass, and then they rip on him again. That's exactly why. So Kirk Cousins has been a punching bag forever. The Vikings have been a punching bag forever. And then they combine the two. Shoot. I don't know what it is. DHVF. If you had to make a podcast about one other NFL team that you'd want to study and follow in depth, which team would that be? I've always liked the Raiders. And it's not so much the current Raiders, because they're whatever, but I've always loved the history. Al Davis, John Madden, Amy Trask, Art Shell. Plunkett. I've just always, Tom Flores, I've just always liked the silver and black. Just that the history, commitment to excellence. They have their own theme song. And man, I just always like Al Davis was a G, man. Like, he did not give an F. He sued the league. He moved his team several times. It's just classic uniforms, great logo as well. And stylistically, like, they've gotten away from that whole chip on their shoulder thing. But also, yeah, I'm a big fan of Vegas, as you may know. So that'd be great. Although the Raiders belong in Oakland. I mean, they screwed Oakland over so much. Like, you look at their home games now in Vegas, and it does not have 1/10 the atmosphere of the Coliseum. I know Coliseum was a dump, but it was one of the best home field advantages in the NFL, man. Like, you think opposing fans want to go into the black hole? Please. So, yeah, I'd pick the Raiders. Brody Hacker. What under-the-radar player on both offense and defense could you see breaking out next season into a larger role? I mean, ISM would be a good candidate there. Offense-wise, ISM or Irv. Especially if Gronk leaves the free agency. I'm still sticking with Wyatt Davis. I'm going to ride this thing into the ground, man. He's my dude. Defensively, Wanham led the team in sacks, so you can't really say that he can break out again. But I could see DJ Wanham morphing into an outside linebacker role in a 3-4 or a 3-3-5 and just really getting after it and really stepping up in year 3. So I'll say, I'll say DJ. Actually, no. I'm going to say Blake Lynch. Because Barr is going to leave. They probably won't resign Vigil. I think Blake Lynch is going to be a fantastic inside linebacker working alongside Eric Hendricks. Yes. King of the North. How would you qualify the next season as a success? Above 500 division title or a playoff win? I would say the bar for the first year, especially since the way that it's gone, the last couple seasons, I would say division title and playoffs. Yeah, simple as that. That guy Carey, even if Rodgers returns, by the way. Yes. That guy carried. What young player on the D-line do you think is due for a breakout season this year? I could see a heavy rotation coming if Hunter gets traded. Want him definitely if Hunter gets traded. I really wanted to see what Janaris Robinson can do. I love me some Blake Lynch forever. I think that the Vikings shifting to a 3-4, him able to play his natural position of 5-tech will be really big for him as well. Plus, I'm excited about Jalen Twyman. Like, there's a Jalen Twyman question coming up, so we'll expand on there. But I love the man. Look at his pit tape. It's great. Jens Harold Claudius. I have a take. I wonder what you think about it. If the Packers retain Rodgers, push all the money down the line, and go all in, the Vikings are not ready to challenge right away. But the Packers will be the Lions come here, they do this, and the Vikings. Well, I don't agree with the Vikings are not ready to challenge right away. I mean, they went 8-9 last year, being led by a donkey. So this is a talented team, and if they can get things together, you could easily hit 11, 12 wins. But I do agree. Have the Packers go all in on Rodgers and basically make them take on the Drew Brees type contract with Rodgers, where, I mean, the Saints are still suffering with being in cap hell. And if they resign Rodgers, they'll probably lose Za'Darius. They'll probably won't be able to sign Jair Alexander. They probably won't be able to retain Devontae. So, yes, I mean, go ahead. Rodgers and the CFLers. Go ahead. Next. Jeff H., you kind of answered this one on your shows, but where do you think Jalen Twyman fits in a 3-4? Well, they're not going to play purely 3-4 or 3-3-5 or 3-2-6. I think that Kevin O'Connell mentioned that they will play some four-man lines. So I think that, when they play some 4-3 or four-man lines of whatever, I think that he can slide in as a 3-tech. Now, I mean, can he work his way into 10, 12 snaps a game? I mean, certainly. I think the kid's got the talent and he's motivated. Seth Witcherman. I need to know the origin story of the phrase Jerome. Oh, yeah, we get this question a lot. So, forget how it started. So I'm a fan of the Pokers, right? And Phil Ivey is one of the greatest players of all time. He used to play in Atlantic City, allegedly, with a fake ID, and the name was Jerome on there. And so one of the old poker shows I used to listen to, they called him Philip Jerome Ivey. And I just sort of sampled that, as we tend to do, and it just started going there. So I started calling players, like Adrian. Well, no, not Adrian. Like Adam, Jerome, Ezekiel, Thielen, or Eric, Jerome, Kendricks. Actually, I don't think I've called Kendricks Jerome. Didn't it? Nah, I don't know. But yeah, started calling players middle name Jerome, and then it's just spread out, and now it's just the name of like the backup band, where it's like, I'm Tom Petty, you're the Heartbreakers, you're the Jeromes. That's right, man. Brandon, powerful Gainesville. Brandon Kramer. Is Kirk selfish or smart? The answer lies somewhere in between, but how much of it is selfish, especially when he hasn't earned it the way he's been paid as far as winning goes? Well, smart for him, smart for his family, smart for his agent, smart for his family tree. But, I mean, Kirk Cousins is probably cheaper than me, and I'm pretty cheap as I sit here in this amazing Robin sweatshirt bought off of Amazon for like $20. But at a certain point, it affects the rest of the team. And I've said this before. If there was no salary cap, this is baseball, get yours, king, whatever. But the fact that his cap hit is potentially going to cost the team some players, even though there's ways around it. It gives them inflexibility, especially when trying to get help on this team. And, if I'm leadership here, like if I'm Kendricks, if I'm Daniil, if I'm Thielen, if I'm Harrison, like I'm going to Kirk Cousins in the offseason, like, hey, here's what we're going to do. Like, we're all going to take a little bit less. Well, okay, just Thielen, Kendricks, and Harrison. And we're going to try and build a team. And you need to do the same damn thing because you have almost $200 million in the bank. And whenever we out to lunch, we split the check. I mean, that's how cheap you are, allegedly. And then just go with that. Because just point out, hey, look what quarterbacks have done. And take a little bit less, build around you. Look what Brady did for years. Stafford's cap hit this year was much more manageable because he was traded, and then the Lions held on to a signing bonus. So, yeah, I mean, take a little bit less. Let's build this thing. We have all the talent in the world. Can you do that? Or do you want to get sacked 17,000 times again? R3. What will happen with the current scouting staff after the draft? Will Cam bring in his own staff? Do GMs usually have their own scouting staff? It's possible, but the fact that KOC isn't the traditional GM, like he didn't come up through the traditional scouting route, he may not have like his own guys. Like I'm sure he's got great relationships with various scouts in various departments, but the fact that the Vikings scouting department has been renowned to be pretty damn good, Jamal Stevenson, Mowens and company, and so the timing wise, it's always weird because we pointed this out before. When a new GM comes in January, teams will typically hold on to the scouting department, regional scouts, director of college scouting, just to get them through free agency and the draft, and then sometimes wash everyone out, sometimes retain. So I think that, KOC, I think that he's not coming in with a predetermined outcome. Like if he, throughout this entire process, you got the combine, you got pro days coming up, like if he enjoys the scouting staff, and he enjoys Stevenson and Mons, I don't think that they'll make any changes. They might make a couple tweaks, promotions, demotions, a couple guys brought in, but I don't think that it will be a complete washout. Brandon Kuslik. Scenario, Danielle Hunter has been traded to the Bills. Kirk Cousins has been traded to the Browns. The Vikings currently hold picks 12, 13, 25 in the first round of the draft this year. And the Minnesota Vikings GM, what positions would you target draft? That'd be fun. So I would just say screw it and take Malik Willis at 12 or Kenny Pickett, whatever you want to do. I would take Sauce Gardner at 13. And then I would take Zion Johnson at 25 unless Linderbaum or Kenyon Green was on board. So then you got your quarterback, you got a cornerback, and you got a guard. Let's get after it, man. Let's go. Or do you just pass on quarterback in the first round entirely and just say screw it? Like sign Mariota in free agency, which we'll talk about. Draft. Maybe Desmond Ridder gets a 46. And then you go Sauce at 12. David Ojabo at 13, and then Zion Johnson 25. I'm good there too. David Lara, how does it feel like to make the best Vikings content on YouTube daily? So I know there's a lot of Vikings YouTube channels, and which is great because that's just more content for the viewers and whatnot. But I never really get into comparisons and whatnot. And yeah, I don't know. Like everyone runs their own race. Comparison is the thief of joy, and I just like talking about my favorite team and having a cool community. And whatever happens after that happens. It's great. Next, YC question: in the Kirk Cousins contract talks and a possible trade, who do you think has the most leverage? I think Kirk has way less leverage. I think the Vikings have all the leverage. I do, because they don't have to trade him. Like, they could easily keep him. Brzezinski can work out some magic, move some numbers around, and yeah, it's not like a. Well, I was going to make a bad comparison, but yeah, Kirk could think that he has leverage, but not particularly, because also he removed his no trade clause in the extension. They also can trade him, and they'll have to take a look at the CBA, because depending on the language, from one angle, it's if you're tagged 3 times by the same team, that then it would be 144% of the second tag, or 3 times consecutively. But the fact that he was tagged twice in Washington, and this would be the first time in Minnesota, like if it gets that far, then it just could be a standard franchise tag. But that's down the line. But the Vikings have all the options. They could make it work with the salary this year, and they could choose to extend him. They could choose not to. They could tag him next year and then trade him wherever, because he doesn't have a no trade clause. So I don't actually think that he has all the leverage in the world. I just don't. Sam McGill: if you were to trade Kirk, who do you think would be the best replacement? If you weren't going to flip the pick and go for another quarterback, which we'll get to in a second, I would bring in Mariota, and then I would draft Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. What you talking about, Willis? Corral, Sam Howell, whatever. Mitch DeBaker: generational quarterbacks moving forward looks dim to me. You got Bryce in 2 years, but who after that? I feel like the pipeline is very small. Well, they always say that, right? Except Joe Burrow, like jumping Joe Burrow, wasn't on the draft radar before the 2019 season, right? So, I mean, Joe Burrow was a failed Ohio State quarterback who had a marginal 2018 season at LSU before he became the number 1 overall pick. And because same thing with like Heisman candidates, a lot of them come out of nowhere, and Bryce Young might not even be good in 2 years. It's unlikely, but it's possible, right? But yeah, guys will step up. There will be quarterbacks. There's always money in the banana stand. There's always quarterbacks in the draft. If the Vikings trade Cousins for the 6th pick in the 2022 draft, Carolina, who would you select with that pick and why? Well, what sucks with that pick is that it seems high for a lot of the quarterbacks, and you're in a weird spot where it seems a little bit too high for the Greek Freak. It seems a little bit too high for an interior lineman like Linderbaum or Green. And this is prime tackle and cornerback area, except like what do you do? Also, it seems a little bit high even for some of the cornerbacks. So I would immediately package this up and flip it for Russ. I would trade the 6 and 12 and a future 2 for Russ. That's all. But if I had to stick and pick, I would kind of hope Kyle Hamilton gets a 6, where I understand safety, not a highly valued position, not really a position of need, but Kyle Hamilton is just that dude, man. A Supercore 98. If the Vikings do wind up trading Kirk, do you think it's possible to pick up Russell Wilson? Well, if the Seahawks do it, they're clearly signaling, hey, we're in a full rebuild, even though John Schneider hasn't been great with his draft picks. And that's why he gives them away. I think it would be possible. I think that the Vikings have to pay a premium because they're in the NFC, but it could be a lot of fun. And the Seahawks would do business with the Vikings. It's not like a Packers-Vikings situation where the Packers would never trade Rodgers in division, but I would be open to it because if you think that the Vikings are in the Super Bowl window now, Russ, and I chalk last year up to an asterisk because, I mean, he rushed back from that thumb. He was never right, but he's still Russell freaking Wilson, man. But that's it. That's Q&A. Tried to zoom through. Didn't work, but what can you do? Let us know your thoughts on our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.